It's 10 o'clock, so why don't we take some time off for this? We are going to uh, do a couple things. So first, I'm going to actually start us off by talking a little bit about some of the stuff that we know about facts for like leukemia and lymphoma, just for people that are paying attention today to the stream, so that they have a little understanding of what we're talking about, what we're up against. And hopefully you all can see it now. Switching over to it. Let's see if I can check on OBS. Yes. All right. So here are some of the statistics, just so that people know why we think this is important. An estimated 54,000 25 children, adolescents, meaning people younger than 20 years in the United States, are living with or in remission from leukemia, lymphoma, myeloma, myelodysplastic syndromes, or myeloproliferative neoplasms. These are all forms of blood cancer, to the best of my knowledge. Another important fact is that leukemia is the most common cancer diagnosed in children and adolescents younger than 20 years, and it actually accounts for a quarter of all cancer cases in this age group. From 2013 to 2017, the most recent 5 years we have available data, leukemia and lymphoma accounted for 39% of all cancer types in children and adolescents younger than 20 years. So the most common types of cancer in kids and adolescents are leukemia at 25%, cancers of the brain and other nervous tissues at 17%, NHL at 7.5%, HL at 6.4%, and soft tissue at 5.9%. The age-adjusted incidence rate of leukemia and lymphoma in children and adolescents is 7.3 per 100,000. Now, leukemia is the second leading cause of cancer death after cancers of the brain and other nervous tissues among children and adolescents younger than 20 years. This accounts for 26%, so over a quarter of all cancer-related deaths among people under 20 years old. Leukemia is the second, from the last bit of data we had from 2013 to 2017, 4.7% of all leukemia and lymphoma cases were diagnosed in children and adolescents. So this is definitely a disease that is often identified and often started in childhood or adolescence. And from 2013 to 2017, about 3.4% of all blood cancers, and that's when we talk about leukemia, lymphoma, myeloma, MDS, and MPNS, those are all types of blood cancers. Those were diagnosed in children and adolescents. So when we look at the prevalence of these, we see that there are 62,526 adolescents and young adults from age 15 to 39 living with leukemia. When we look at non-Hodgkin's lymphoma for that age group, we're at around 40,000. When we're looking at Hodgkin's lymphoma, we're looking at close to 54,000. We're looking at myeloma and MDS and MPNS. The numbers are low, but still concerning. So those are some of the math behind why this is important. But Noah, I wonder if you are ready to maybe talk a little bit on stream and kind of explain to us why this is important to you. What made you decide in senior year, when you're so busy doing all sorts of other things, to spend time focusing on raising money for blood cancer?
To start, it is actually my junior year.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of started last year when one of my best friend's sisters was running the same fundraiser, but for the 2022 season. So just for a little background, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society is obviously the nonprofit that is kind of like everything falls under. And then, so within that, every year, different teams compete to raise the most money. so each state has, you know, a certain number of teams, and teams are typically seen and represented through school. Um, and so my team's name is Rams for Remedy, as that's our school mascot. And so just for a little bit of history, starting 4 years ago was the first kind of volume, is what we're calling it, of Rams for Remedy. Um, and then every year a different person or, you know, duo would take it over. So last year, as I was saying, my good friend's sister was running it, and I got to, you know, help out with their team a little bit, kind of see the behind the scenes, and then I actually got to go to their grand finale event where, you know, the total fundraising amounts are introduced, awards are handed out, you get to meet all sorts of people, and it's a really great experience. So a couple weeks after that, you know, my friend's sister approached my friend and I, and was asking if we would be interested in running this year. And kind of immediately, I thought it was something that would be really awesome to do, because of the impact it has. And I don't know, even when it's kind of like stressful or really time consuming or just you know, really difficult to kind of manage, it's worth doing because of what it brings and what it kind of creates. And so the whole process for this started in, I believe, April of 2022, when we got in contact with our representative, Catherine. And then, you know, throughout the next couple of months in the summer, Catherine went over, you know, what the competition would look like, the preparation for it, etc., etc. And so as we got into the fall, we really ramped up with preparing for our official campaign. So just to kind of discuss that briefly, the campaign is what the official event is, which we are doing the charity stream for now. So the campaign is a 7-week event. It spans between February and March. So this year's start date was February 3rd, and the final day is March 24th, this Friday or tomorrow. And so within those 7 weeks, the different teams, as I stated before, compete to raise the most money. And so going back to kind of the preparation side of things, it involved, so some of the things I can think of are creating flyers, organizing events, reaching out to sponsors. I spent hours creating mailing lists to ask for donations once the competition started. And then the other really big part of it is your team. So to kind of go into depth with that, you obviously have the people who are kind of like the team captains, which is my friend Alex and I. And then within that, you have different team members. So that's typically like parents, family members, friends, anybody who you think would be a great addition. And so it's kind of their role to support you in fundraising as much as you possibly can. So they'll go out, they'll try to organize events, they'll try to get donations, and just kind of spread the message. And so really between like September and December, we prepared all of that. We got, you know, a bunch of really, really good team members who we were happy with. And then January, we kind of started to set up some different events and come up with a plan for how we were going to fundraise as the competition began on February 3rd. So throughout the course of the competition, we've done a couple of different events. So the first was a Chipotle fundraiser, where so people would go, they'd order their meal, and then at checkout they would mention that they were there to support the fundraiser, and a percent of the proceeds would actually go towards it. Another event we had was a bowling night, which was actually an event during last year's campaign as well. So people would come, they would pay, and then they could do unlimited bowling for 2 hours. Um, so part of that was we created a raffle, where we had all sorts of prizes and people could buy tickets, and then we had a bunch of different winners. My mother and sister were like, it would not have been nearly as successful if it hadn't been for them. And that's just kind of one example of what team members do. Um, and so continuing, some of the things we have sold to kind of help our fundraiser are LLS t-shirts and LLS keychains. So the t-shirts were donated to us by my friend's mom, the person who is the other team captain, and then we ordered some printing kind of like presses for them. And so I spent a significant amount of time actually creating all the t-shirts and then selling them during different events, lunch, and just to anyone who is interested. And then for the keychains, the idea for that was brought to us by our mentor Brian. So a little bit of background for that. Brian is works with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and so kind of his role is he's assigned to a group, so Rams for Remedy in this case, and he kind of helps guide us through and give us advice and help us with whatever he can. So early on he suggested we make keychains, as he has a lot of experience with 3D printing. So he was kind enough to actually print us blood drop keychains as well as ram keychains. Just to reiterate, that's our school mascot. And so he donated them to us, and we sold them in addition to the t-shirts. And so those are a lot of the big things we've done. The final thing that we have coming up is our grand finale event, which is tomorrow. I've been scrambling to get ready for that. So that's where Alex and I, team captains, and then some of our team members and our families come. As I said before, we kind of learn, what everyone raised, who raised the most. Awards are given out. We get to kind of just experience like everything we've done over the past 7 weeks, which I'm really looking forward to. So I know that was like a little bit more than just like why I'm doing this, but that's kind of an explanation of everything.
So you actually talked a lot about a lot of the things you're doing, and one thing I didn't quite hear yet is, what is the grand finale? And so just before you mention that, I do want to mention to people that may be following this and listening in stream that basically tomorrow is it. This is up until tomorrow that you're raising money for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. What is so? If you could maybe tell us what your dollar goal is and where you're at now, and then what the grand finale event is going to be.
Yeah. So, our original goal going into this was $15,000, which is, an astronomical amount of money. And we kind of realized that would be like a really nice kind of like reach goal. So then we changed it to 10,000. I believe we are like a couple $100 away from that, which is awesome. And so that's kind of where we're at for that. So we have until 3 p.m. tomorrow to be accepting donations. And then we also are doing a silent auction as part of our grand finale event, which I'll elaborate on. So hopefully I can try to post the link for that. And that would run through probably about 8 to 9 p.m. tomorrow night. Mm-hmm. And so to kind of go into more detail on the grand finale. So you go through your 7 weeks of fundraising, and then you have this, it's kind of like a banquet. And so all of the different teams across the state that competed, and a lot of the LLS Society, um, members, the directors, the supporters, the mentors like Brian, another mentor, Catherine, they're all going to be there. We get to invite our family and our team members. And then during that, there's a couple different things that happen. So the first thing is they announced how much money every team raised. They also announced the combined amount that every team raised, and then they give out some awards. Another thing is we have an honored hero every year. So this year's honored hero, her name is Michelle. Um, I've spoken to her on Zoom numerous times, but I'll actually get to meet her and speak with her, and I think she's doing a speech tomorrow. And then the other really big aspect of Grand Finale is the silent auction. So in addition to all of the events, the t-shirts, the keychains, the silent auction is something that all of the teams participate in. And so each team brings around 5 auction items. And those are, it's obviously a silent auction, and so it takes place both during Grand Finale and also online. So that started yesterday and will continue until it ends tomorrow night. So the prizes that my team has are a painting donated by Alex, the other team captain's family, a painting donated by our mentor Brian, a soda creation machine with some flavorings donated by my dad, and then a purse that was donated, a purse in addition to a gift card donated from a shop we have kind of where I'm from, and then a basket that we're kind of calling a night out, and it has a gift card to a really nice restaurant from where I'm at. It contains some champagne, some chocolate, and so that's a really nice prize. My mom and Alex's mom kind of helped to put a lot of those together and help Alex and I with that, as that was like a huge task to take. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens with that. Currently, I know we have some bids on some of the items, which is really good. Having five items, I think our goal is to hopefully make about $500 to $1,000 off of those. And so kind of all of this we're calling our final push, which is, the charity stream, selling t-shirts during lunch waves, the silent auction. So kind of all of that is our last kind of leap towards trying to reach our goals.
So one thing that I wanted to mention, because I was doing some research on the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, because in this day and age, anybody can slap up a charity, and so I often really kind of want to check out what kind of work they're doing. And clearly they're doing a lot of work, both in terms of care, supporting patients and caregivers, supporting research, supporting those of us that are healthcare professionals that help people. That ranges from oncologists to physicians to social workers dealing with oncology and pediatric oncology. So they're doing a lot of support there. But the other thing I thought was really interesting when I looked at their website is they are very much advocating and doing work in terms of food insecurity. And I'm going to try to put that up. There you go. So hopefully you can see this. So food insecurity is a household level economic and social condition of limited or uncertain access to adequate food. That's why we call it food insecurity. It can be long-term, it can be temporary. It doesn't always cause hunger. But what's important to understand is, though it doesn't always cause hunger, it can also affect the quality and variety of nutritious foods consumed. And the connection, or one of the connections, is that our health and our ability to do things like fight cancer, to live well and have a wellness mentality when we're in recovery from lymphoma or blood cancers really does have a very strong connection to nutrition, which has an absolutely strong connection to food security and food insecurity. So what was really kind of cool about the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, when I look at their info, is they're really making the connections that it's more than what may be what we tend to think of in terms of fighting cancer. That just like women's rights or human rights, food security is part of cancer recovery and fighting cancer. So I found that fascinating that they were making those connections. Obviously, where this is important, if for those of us interested in social justice, is that what causes food insecurity is income and unemployment, so issues of class, race and ethnicity. Clearly, there are disparities. They found that 22.5% of black households and 18.5% of Hispanic households in 2016 were food insecure, compared to the national average, which was 12.3%. So over 10% to 20% higher level of food disparity, food insecurity based on your race. People with disabilities can be at higher risk of it. People that live in what we would call food deserts, where there are less access to good supermarkets with a variety of healthy and economic food. Those are definitely all social justice issues. So it's really important, I think, when we look at what you're doing, to see that you're actually tackling an issue that's really complicated. It isn't just health, but it's very much connected to health disparities and social justice. Before we kind of go back to playing, though, I want to back up, because you did an amazing job sort of talking about the things you're doing. But I want you to try to connect the dots for people that may have no information or no experience with leukemia or lymphoma or blood cancer. Why are these important things to be concerned with? Why does this matter to you on an emotional level, to fight blood cancer in children and adolescents? What's the connection for you emotionally there?
Yeah, so I have a couple of connections. So there's three people that I want to kind of briefly talk about. The first is a really good family friend. She's had a couple different kinds of cancers, and eventually she unfortunately got leukemia. Thankfully though, she managed to actually fully recover, go into remission, and it has been 5 years since then, so she's now considered cured, which is amazing. And then some other kind of personal connections are another family friend. So he, I believe in October, was diagnosed with a form of blood cancer. So currently it does not have a cure per se, although due to advances in research, technology, and treatment, people with it are able to live 10, 15, 20 years sometimes. So it's really cool. A couple of days ago, I found out that his chemotherapy treatments were working so well that the detection level of cancer is 0, which is awesome. Yeah. So I think, not to share too many personal details, I think that they're going to try to see if that will continue, and then hopefully, he'll be able to kind of end treatment and see where that takes him. So, he's had a really unfortunately it is cancer, but he's had a very fortunate experience for going through such a terrible thing, in doing better right now. And then the other person is my uncle, technically great uncle. He also happens to be my godfather. I believe 10 or so years ago, he was diagnosed with a similar form of blood cancer, which is also does not have a cure. Although he is doing incredibly well, as I said, it's been 10 years, and so thankfully, those three people, one of them is cured, and then another one of them is on a great track to, live a long life, and the other one has been doing great for, over a decade at this point. And so that's kind of my personal connection.
So you're actually talking a lot about how there has been a lot of hope and advances recently, and I think that is, clearly connected to the work that LLS is doing, and clearly connected to the work that children's hospitals, pediatric oncology researchers, and healthcare providers are doing, and also the work you're doing. So I want to thank you for that. I do want to mention to people that this is something you can. I will edit this down to a video tonight, and we'll hopefully release it so that you have time to share it tomorrow before 3 o'clock. This is something you still have the opportunity to donate to. There's a QR code on the when we're actually playing the game. You'll be able to see. You can scan that. There is in our chat, if you look at the links, you can see a link that says End Sussel that you can actually donate. And of course, you can donate to me. And I will be matching donations tonight up to $250. So anything that you donate to me up to $250, 250 will go directly to LLS. We'll try to get them to give Noah credit for, but I will be donating the matching amount to Noah directly. So our goal is to get him as close to that $10,000 goal as possible. The last thing I want to mention, which is closely related to this, is something that's coming up next week, or actually in 2 weeks, and that is Extra Life United. And that is something that is connected to this fundraiser in a couple of ways, because it is largely focused on funding children's hospitals and the Children's Miracle Network. Extra Life is United is a very, very interesting fundraising event that is done by gamers for kids that are in the Children's Miracle Network of hospitals, including our very own Boston Children's Hospital. I'm a member of Boston Children's Extra Life team, and I will be going down to Orlando. I will hopefully be doing a couple streams, hopefully checking in from Extra Life United to let you know some of the good work that we are doing there. And one of the things that has in common with what we're doing tonight is it focuses on the power of play. Why play video games and stream and talk about leukemia and lymphoma and raise money? Why go down to Orlando and get together as a group to play video games and raise money? Because there are very strong connections in the research between the healing power of play in terms of our neurology, in terms of our physiology, but also because these are ways we can leverage emerging technologies. So I think it is so awesome that we live in an age where you can actually have 3D printed keychains so that people can actually be harnessing that emerging technology in yet another way. I'm hoping that we will get some more donations. We will be on for the next hour and a half at least while we're playing. We will be not hopping into Discord. I think we're going to hop out of Discord after this, just because it puts a little bit of a strain on my computer. But we are going to be here playing. I will be here talking with you. If you're coming in and you want to talk about your experience in chat with how leukemia and lymphoma has impacted you, how the progress that we've experienced in the research and the science has given hope and optimism for your life or your health, you're very welcome to talk about those things. But we're coming up on 10:30, and I think people have been patient enough. It's time for you guys to watch us play more video games. So Noah, thank you so much for giving us your time and your explanation of all the good work you're doing. Good luck tomorrow on your final push. We'll send a video your way and post it on Facebook and some other places, and hopefully you can get even closer to your $10,000 goal. Thank you for being here.
I really appreciate that. And then also thank you for kind of giving me a platform to, share all of this. It 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 means a lot, and I think it's going to be super impactful. Um, so I do really appreciate that.
You are very welcome. All right, enough of that. Let's play some games. Let's go. All right, and I am just going to be getting us out of Discord so that my computer does not fall apart. And we will be doing less chatting and more playing.